MLS Monday by Scarves and Spike, Sydney and Henry with you as we take a look back at the big storylines, Henry, from Match Day. Hold on, I know what this is. Match Day 35, isn't it?
There you go, Match Day 35. Good job.
I always get confused because of these one-off matches in the middle of the week. Of course, Miami is playing on Wednesday, and they could clinch playoffs with a win in their match against New York City FC, who we'll talk about a little bit later on. But yeah, 35 matches in, Henry, or 35 match days in, and not supporters shield. I don't know. Decision day.
There's a lot of soccer, isn't there?
Yeah. I know.
The season's gotten to that point where we're just like, it all starts blending together. Yep. It gets harder with like, you have random games on like Tuesdays or Thursdays or whatever, and you have like Open Cup or Leagues Cup days, and it all gets confused there. But yeah, we are reaching the business end of the season. Last few games for most teams, except if you're Inter Miami, then you still have like 6 or 7 left. But yeah, it's an exciting time, especially because, and I feel like we say this every week, but it's true. This has got to be the best Shield race that we have seen in recent seasons. Yep. And it's also a really interesting playoff scrap for most teams. Unfortunately, Atlanta is not among them. But most teams, this is a very, very fun playoff scrap to look out for in these last few match days of the season.
Yeah, you messed with the Supporter Shield race, and we'll kind of talk about that off the top a little bit. But I think you can write off Nashville, unfortunately, out of the Supporter Shield race once for all. I feel like Atlanta United broke Nashville, Henry. We were talking about it before the show. They've won just once in the last 7. That was from Orlando, a 5-1 win. We're like, before that, they had lost 3 in a row. I guess we were probably like, okay, are they going to go on a run here? They have Atlanta coming up right after this. Are they going to go on a run? And now they lose their next 3 after that to Atlanta, and then at Cincinnati, and then at Orlando. So we were talking about a few weeks ago, Nashville could win a triple. Supporter Shield, MLS Cup, and Open Cup. And now just Open Cup appears to be in their grasp. They could still win the MLS Cup. Still could win an MLS Cup, but I don't know if the Shield is.
I don't know if I call them favorites necessarily.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're favorites. But
I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like things started derailing for Nashville. I think the alarm bells had to have started ringing with that 3-1 loss to St. Louis at the beginning of August. I mean, San Diego, look, they're leading the West. I can't fault you for falling 1-0 to them. That's not a terrible result, but St. Louis 3-1 and then losing 2-1 to NYCFC immediately after. Yeah, it just feels like they lost their rhythm, and they need to find it sooner rather than later, because right now, I don't think that they're going to miss out on playoffs, but they're in danger of kind of falling below that direct playoff qualification line. You are literally, they're tied with Columbus, who is in the 8th. I can't believe we're saying this, but Columbus is 8th in the East. That's how stacked this East is, that this really good Columbus team is 8th, right? Yeah. And so there's a chance, like if these teams don't really kind of, get in their groove, these final games of the season, that one of these that we had kind of seen as being giants of the Eastern Conference, I guess, they might have to go to the play-in game, which, I mean, first of all, it's an extra game that you don't want to have to play. But also, it pretty much guarantees that you're not going to play much at home during the playoffs, even if you do make it. So it's a very crappy position for any team, but especially for teams like Columbus that I feel like we had up there, Nashville that had worked themselves up until I think like second in the East was their peak this season. Yeah, it's just a tremendous fall that they've had.
Would you say Nashville is a bit out of tune at this point?
Music City joke.
You dropped in. You said they're out of rhythm, and that's kind of a low key joke.
That was on accident. See, I've gotten so good at this. I'm dropping puns on accident.
Well done. We taught you well. So, I mean, let's talk about this Shield race, Henry, here. And I feel like right now I'm going to say it's a 4-team race at this point in time after match day 35. Minnesota.
Don't jinx it.
Well, we'll see. But I mean, Minnesota losing to Chicago 3-0. I mean, that sort of set them back a little bit. They have 3 matches remaining against Colorado on the road, Sporting Kansas City, and then the Galaxy on the road. So they're 6 back of Philadelphia, who are on 60 points, beating New England 1-0. Damiani scoring around the 70th minute. Cincinnati being LA, they're 2 points back. San Diego, of course, drawing Atlanta United. And then Vancouver, let's not forget about them, on 55 points with 2 matches in hand on Philadelphia, beating Sporting Kansas City 2-0. So I really feel like, though, Henry, this is Phillies, Cincinnati, San Diego, and Vancouver at this time. Anything can happen. Man, I'm looking at Minnesota's schedule right now, and that's a pretty easy schedule. Out Colorado, Sporting Kansas City, at the Galaxy. They could get 9 points out of that. Then you look at Vancouver, Portland at home, at Seattle, the 2 Cascadia Derby matches there. San Jose at home. San Jose have kind of dipped a lot. At Orlando, and then Dallas. Those are, I'd say, all pretty winnable matches, right? Considering how Seattle's been playing, considering how San Jose's been playing, Dallas. I feel like your toughest matches there are Portland and at Orlando. But then, of course, you look at the top 3 teams: Philadelphia, at DC next, NYC. We'll talk about NYCFC a little bit later. At Charlotte. DC is pretty much your easiest match. NYC, Charlotte. I mean, those are your toughest matches there. Cincinnati, Orlando at home, at Red Bulls, Montreal at home on decision day. That's a pretty, not a tough schedule for them. And then San Diego, not a tough schedule for them either. San Jose, at Houston, at Portland to end the season. So I really think, and I'll say it again, this is sort of a 4-team race at this point in time. I think Vancouver, considering their schedule, considering the matches they have in hand, I feel like they kind of had the edge here. Minnesota could sneak up, but they're going to have to get 9 points to have any chance at getting the Shield. What do you think? What are your thoughts looking at this?
Yeah, for the most part, I do agree. It's probably going to be, one of these teams that's already at that top, Philadelphia, Cincinnati, San Diego. Those top 3 are definitely your top contenders. Vancouver is the sneaky word. I think Vancouver is a big wild card here because they do have those 2 games in hand that you mentioned, and they're gonna make some of those up this week because they do have a double game week. Wednesday they host Portland, and then Saturday they visit their other Cascadia rival, Seattle Sounders, which, as we just mentioned, they aren't in the best of form after their Leagues Cup win, right? So there's a chance for them. I think that given their calendar, Vancouver certainly has every chance of jumping back into the Shield race and taking the lead even.
Yeah.
I think there's another dark horse, though. Or should I say dark herons? Because I think Inter Miami.
Pink horse, even.
A pink horse, maybe Pink Pony Club. I think,
Chaperone shout out there.
Yeah, I think we've been kind of quick to dismiss them because, their form had taken a bit of a dip. But, right now they're sitting on 52 points in 8th place. You're like, there's no chance. They've got to be out, right? But they have 6 games left to play. And that means a maximum of 18 points. And if my math is correct, which usually it isn't, but right now I think it is, that could be enough, depending on the results that, Philadelphia, Cincinnati, San Diego, if these teams continue to stumble towards the end here, that's going to open a window of opportunity here for Miami to just kind of go on. They've got nothing else to worry about, no other competitions. It's just this that they can go and focus on and maybe go and steal the Supporters' Shield. And just kind of looking at their calendar, right? Of their 6 remaining games, 3 of them are against teams that have already been eliminated from the playoffs. At Toronto, hosting New England, and then hosting Atlanta, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your other games, we're talking about a visit to NYCFC, which to me, that's probably their hardest game. The ones that they have left.
Agreed.
because NYCFC is just in really good form, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But NYCFC has figured things out to a degree that I think they're more dangerous than Nashville, which fine, we'll get into that now. Nashville away is Miami's decision day matchup, and that's, we had said that's probably the game that's going to determine the Golden Boot race winner. But now with with a certain guy in LAFC, I don't think that is the case anymore. But
yeah,
there's
something to say about it, I feel like.
And again, we'll talk more about that later. But I think that Inter Miami can go and get the result in Nashville, especially if they go into that game knowing that win and you've got it, or that's what you got to do. I think you have players that have the experience and have kind of the competitive mentality to kind of will themselves to a win in games like this, where like they have everything on the line. So I really do think that Miami can do it. And their other game is hosting Chicago, which is a team, in that playoff bubble right now in the East. So again, these are teams that I think that Miami can beat, even if the table kind of doesn't reflect it that way. Again, keep in mind, Miami has played way less games than most of these teams. So yeah, and I think especially if Messi, he's back to his groove, right? He's just got 2 goals and an assist. He's back to doing Messi things. And I think if he continues with that, Miami is certainly one of these teams to look out for in this Shield race.
And you have Suarez coming back too.
Oh, right. So, he's back for this
Suarez,
this next game on Wednesday at NYCFC. So that's going to be important right there.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And we talked to Kevin Egan the other day on our midweek podcast. So you can go back and watch that or listen to that if you want. But he said, and he agreed with our sentiment, right, that it's as tight a Supporter Shield race as we've seen in a while. I was looking back, a few days ago, just looking at how many points the Shield winner wanted by for a particular year. And it's just really not much between these 5, 6, 7 clubs that we've just talked about earlier here tonight or on this episode that, if one of them slips up, I mean, that could be it. I mean, we talked about Nashville, was in the mix, but they've just haven't done themselves any favors. But yeah, it's just tough to say, especially with Vancouver having matches in hand, especially with Miami having matches in hand that we just talked about. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I feel like this is going to come down to the wire. Pretty exciting decision day, where, like you said, it could be deciding the Supporter Shield, which is, as good as you would want it to be on decision day. So looking forward to seeing how these matches shake out, and should be a lot of fun watching this come down to the wire, this Supporter Shield race. And we'll talk about the playoff race toward the bottom of the standings or near the playoff line in just a little bit. But gotta talk about LAFC. And you mentioned it earlier. They've been on some kind of tear. I think they want to just I feel like they just want to play RSL every match from here on out after what happened the past week. 4-1.
It's wild that the MLS scheduling gods put them going away to RSL midweek and then hosting them over the weekend.
Yeah.
But it's also equally wild that they won by the same scoreline both times.
And got a hat trick in either game too.
Yeah, by 2 different players who are kind of the dynamic duo at this point, in Spanish, in our MLS Spanish kind of group, we refer to Miami's group of Barca boys. We called them Los Cuatro Fantásticos, the Fantastic Four, which I guess is now 5, but that doesn't have the same ring to it. I guess at this point we have to call Denis Bouanga and Heung-Min, the dynamic duo, what else? Because they're kind of, they're partners in crime. They're combining together in such a way, like this chemistry that they have formed. It feels like they've been playing for ages together, because they understand each other. They're absolutely lethal when they get into the box, into the final third. You just know that something's going to happen. They set each other up very, very well, and including, after this game, Bouanga and Son, they both talked about, how they get along very well, how, they feel that connection is developing and that they hope to strengthen that even more. Uh, this has been, this is great news for LAFC fans because, you might not be a supporter shield contender at this point. It's too late for you, I think, but I think you have to be one of the favorites going into the MLS Cup playoffs for sure.
Yeah.
I would love to see a Western Conference final of LAFC versus Vancouver Whitecaps with Thomas Muller going against Son, and then MLS Cup being, LAFC versus Miami. Just because I want to see that drama. I want to see the star power, right?
It's like UEFA Champions League all over again, right?
Yeah, but again, kind of some other tidbits. LAFC becomes the first team in MLS history to have, a player score a hat trick in 3 consecutive games. It was Bouanga, Son Bouanga, which is, excellent rhythm there. Bouanga, out of literally nowhere, has jumped into the Golden Boot lead. Well, he's tied with Messi with 22 points and just under him in assists. But with a few games left, there is still plenty of time for Bouanga to take that Golden Boot from Messi if Messi slows down even a little bit. But man, this is wild. They just kind of I don't remember what the number is, but I think he's got like 7 goals in his last like 4 or 5 games, something like that. Bouanga, it's wild. And a lot of that is thanks to Son, quality of player that he is. He's really, really happy to be at LAFC. And obviously, also last night was Carlos Vela night, where they kind of inducted him into their brand new LAFC Ring of Honor. Very deserved for one of the best players in the league over the last decade almost. And just, a massive player in LAFC history. So, by the way, Son, that one of the fun quotes that I had to look over from, the material that we were getting.
Right.
He said, I really when he's like, when I retire, I want to come back to LA and I want them to receive me this way because he sees how they're, how much they love Vela, all the love that they're giving him, and obviously that's a huge night, huge win, and yeah, it's every game you kind of see how happy Son is to be there, and that's exactly the player that you want, someone that's pumped to be at your club.
Yeah, 6 goals, 3 assists in 7 matches. And the match the goal he scored against RSL at BMO Stadium was his first home goal for LAFC. So, ever since coming to MLS, he's been, just terrific. I feel like better than expected. But I think, Henry, you mentioned the big thing is that he and Bouanga have formed a tremendous partnership in such a relatively short time. And I think that's a key thing to watch. That's what we're talking about with Mueller as well. How long will it take for him to build that relationship, build that chemistry with his teammates? And Son's been able to do that with Bouanga especially over these past few matches. And to me, and I'll ask you this: is this the most dangerous team in MLS right now? Because considering how these 2 players have sort of gelled together in such a short time, considering the sort of run that LAFC are on at this point, with just a handful of matches to go. I don't think they're the best team in MLS right now, but I think at this point, if you look back, they scored 12 goals in the last 3 matches, right? So that's pretty incredible from an attacking standpoint. But to me, I feel like they're right now maybe the most dangerous team in MLS. If the playoffs begin today, they take on Seattle, and I don't think Seattle could take them in a 3-match series. I really don't. And we'll talk about Seattle in just a bit, but
no.
To me, they're the most dangerous team in MLS as far as what they can do from an attacking standpoint with Bouanga and Son clicking at the same time. What do you think?
If this version of LAFC isn't the best team in MLS right now, leaving the standings aside, because the standings would be talking about the full season and Son has only played like 6 games. What team is better than this LAFC right now? The way that they're figuring things out, the way that they're attacking is just clicking. What team can match Miami?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't see Miami
maybe.
players bagging hat tricks every game. I don't see,
Yeah.
they do have an understanding, yes, but I don't see it to the level that, Bouanga and Son have developed. And, it's not just that, but the supporting cast that they have, right? You have a team that knows how to kind of control these games, how to get the ball to these players who can create the danger up front. Uh, an experienced goalkeeper in Hugo Lloris, reliable midfield between Marky Delgado and I just don't see a team that has the quality that this LAFC team has. So if you're asking me right now, at this moment, I do think that they are the best team in MLS. But I guess we'll see. The playoffs will be the real indicator of
Yeah.
that. If they can continue this form, or if this is just, the Son mania still having a
Right.
little bit of an effect.
And you mentioned Lloris. I mean, I feel like he's kind of the X factor, right? Because he's a winner. He knows what it takes to win. He's won a World Cup. He knows Son from years of playing with him with Spurs. So I'm sure he knows how to command that back line. I mean, he's done it for so many years at the highest levels of the sport, right? And it's easy to kind of forget to some extent that he's back there as well. And he's a source of leadership. I'm sure he's a source of communication, the sounding board for his defenders. Gives them a kick in the butt when they need it, I'm sure. But that's just coming from a goalkeeper who has, again, one of the highest levels of football, one of the best keepers of this current generation. And I feel like you kind of, in the funny way, you kind of overlook that. But it doesn't hurt to have him on the team. And I feel like, you know, if he can continue to keep things going, and if you look at the past few matches, he allowed, of course, 2 to San Jose and the 2 to RSL in those 2 matches. But if he can help organize that defense and command that defense, this LAFC team, I think it will be very tough to beat on either side of the pitch. So definitely a good shot to bring out Lloris. Kind of feels like he gets lost in the mix here, but this is a very complete team. I feel like, yes, Bouanga is the star, and you mentioned he's worked his way up into the Golden Boot, tied with Messi, as he said. Messi would win based on the number of assists he has right now with 12. But as this chemistry between him and Son continues to grow, and as Son continues to find his legs in MLS, this is going to be a very tough team to beat in the playoffs. They're top 4 in the West right now. Have a chance to go even higher. Don't think the Shield is in play right now, but this could be maybe a team in the second and third place finish in the Western Conference. And you look back early in the season, right? It didn't look like this would happen. Looked like they're going to be in the middle of the pack, 5th or 6th or so. So what a job they've done to really not turn things around, but position themselves as a team that could make some noise in the playoffs. And I feel like could be a dark horse to make it all the way to MLS Cup and send Steve Toronto out on a high note. I really think that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Well, let's go back to the other side of the country, the East Coast, if you will, specifically New York City. Charlotte FC finally losing a match after a 9-game winning streak, losing to NYCFC 2-0, Alonso Martinez scoring twice from the spot. And the storyline, Henry, of course, is that 9-game winning streak coming to an end for Charlotte FC, but NYCFC 7-1-1 in the last 9 matches, and Tom Bogert had a good tweet about, since Nico Fernandez debuted for them, they're 6-1. They have not lost a match since he debuted for them. They're now top 4 in the East, and I feel like they've been quietly kind of plugging away while we've been talking about Charlotte, Miami, Vancouver. NYCFC is like, don't forget about us. We're still around. We're still a team.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, the NYCFC have just, like you mentioned, they've just skyrocketed in terms of form, and a lot of it, as you mentioned, the addition of Nicolas Fernandez Mercado has helped in that sense. He's slotted in, kind of. I see it, on the wing off kind of the right is where he's played a lot, and he is very skilled at kind of drifting in from those wide positions, getting kind of central and finding, these people that are their teammates that are making runs, that are kind of, making these really penetrating runs into the box and into, dangerous areas, and he's able to get them the ball, and he sees these things, and it's just a game changer for NYCFC, and especially when you have a goal scorer as good as Alonso Martinez, who I think has kind of gone under the radar a little bit. Well, I can't say he's got under the radar because he's always been a Golden Boot contender, but he hasn't been near the top like Surridge or Messi or your Bouangas, because even though he's a solid goal scorer, he hasn't really gotten the service as much as he should. Even though this NYCFC team has been good going forward, he hasn't gotten the service to really, really kind of show his ability. And in this game, he got 2 penalty kick goals. But with a player like Mercado that can kind of go inside and find these passing options to play him in, we've seen that connection in previous games already. It's starting to develop, and hopefully by the playoffs, that's mostly fine-tuned, but he's a solid addition, and he's made this NYCFC team better. And Charlotte, on the other side, I'm not too horribly concerned. Charlotte's already secured their playoff spots. They're good to go. I think they've mostly figured things out as a team. Now the question is, what can you put together going into the playoffs, and how do you maintain a solid position going into the playoffs so that you can take the most advantage of playing at home? Because this team at Bank of America Stadium is much, much better. They definitely feed off the support of their crowd, and so you want to take advantage of that as much as you can in the playoffs, especially once you get into these one-game series, right? These single elimination matches after round 1. And funny thing that I literally just noticed looking at the table is that, just to show you how tight the East Conference is, 3rd and 8th place are separated by 3 points.
Yeah. Wow.
That's
incredible.
So you're going to see that tells you, just first of all, how competitive the Eastern Conference is, because you have so many teams that have been able to keep this rhythm and put themselves in these positions as late as we are right now, to the point where nothing is certain, not even who your top 4 are going to be. And so what you're going to see over the course of these next few match weeks, these last few match weeks, a lot of movement, probably a lot of movement as these teams kind of find their last gasp for points, as they try to get the best position possible or defend the position that they have already. And a lot of these matchups now are intra-conference matchups. So you're going to have a lot of these Eastern teams playing against each other. Like we just said, Wednesday, you have Miami and NYCFC playing. Those are 2 teams that are in that little stretch of the Eastern Conference. And so, look, it's just going to be a fun, just kind of free for all that we're going to be watching towards the end of the season. And I'm excited. You have no way of predicting how this table will end once the last game has ended on decision day. So again, I have to stress, I cannot stress enough, this is one of the best MLS seasons ever in like the past few seasons. Is one of the best that we have seen.
I think quickly you have to ask yourself, how far up can NYCFC go? They have Miami coming up. You just mentioned that, at Red Bulls, Hudson River Derby there, Philadelphia I-95 Derby down there in Chester, and then decision day against Seattle. I mean, that can't be overlooked because Seattle are coming from all the way across the continent to play you on decision day. So, I mean, this is a team that could continue to move up the table. They can certainly overtake Charlotte at this point on tiebreaker, which is wins. They don't at this point because Charlotte have more wins than NYC at this point, but New York City have the tiebreaker. So if they were equal on wins today, they would be ahead. So, and that's the big question. Can they sneak up further up the table? If playoffs were to begin today, they'd be playing Miami. But if you look at third place, or we move up to third, they'd be playing Orlando. And if they move up to second, they'd be playing a very vulnerable Nashville team. So this is very important to get as many points as you can here down the stretch, especially if you're NYCFC, because that could really go a long way in determining, okay, are you matched up with a team that you could definitely beat, or are you facing a team, even though you have a higher seed, that could knock you off and pip you off the playoffs because they're in form and you aren't. And NYC, again, they've been kind of quiet how they've gone about it, right? All the discussion has been about Nashville, Miami, Vancouver, San Diego, LAFC to some extent. NYC, again, have been kind of quietly going around about their business and have pushed themselves up the table. This was a side that weren't too convincing toward the middle of the season, but they've kind of buckled together. And, with Fernandez now the mix, they've really improved. And, with these matches coming up here, that, this is a chance for them to continue to make that move up. And it starts with Miami, and that's obviously going to be a tough match up there in New York City. But yeah, let's see if they can keep going and continue to move up the table and improve their playoff positioning here with just a handful of matches to go in the regular season.
Yeah, they can improve their position in playoffs. You can improve your information on Atlanta United by following us and all of our content at scarvesandspikes.com. We have all types of news, analysis, opinions about Atlanta United, and occasionally just soccer in the Atlanta area. We covered the Club World Cup. We are hopefully going to be doing the World Cup, but
just real quick, Ousmane Dembele winning Ballon d'Or.
Whoa.
He played Mercedes-Benz Stadium during Club
That's
World
what
Cup.
happens when you play Miami, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, dude. It's just the MBS effect. What can I say?
One of only a handful of Ballon d'Or players joining Messi in that camp who have played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So,
yeah, well, we don't have Ballon d'Ors, but we do have hats. That's horrible. We do have hats and jerseys.
Good try, good attempt.
and T-shirts and beer mugs, glasses, tons of cool stuff that you can get on our store. Go check it out. It helps support the show, all the content that we do, and it gets you all some really cool swag. Another way that you can support us is by joining our Patreon. Starting at $1.17 a month, you can get access to exclusive content, our unfiltered series, our Patreon mailbags, interview audios, and all sorts of cool stuff, and access to our Discord, where we have some really fun chats about Atlanta United, or more fun soccer, or other sports, or tons of other cool topics. So please come join our community. We would love to have y'all. And final thing is, I understand that Ousmane Dembele has an 80-something rating in FC 26, right?
Why do you say that?
Well, we've got a giveaway going on for a copy of EA Sports FC 26, which drops when again? I already forgot.
Soon.
Real soon. How about you give the folks some more details on that giveaway?
Yes, so there's a pinned post on x.com/scarves, the letter N spikes, that has instructions on how you can enter. It is pinned on Blue Sky. Search scarvesandspikes.com on Blue Sky. There's a pinned post there. There's also a pinned post on our Instagram with instructions at instagram.com/scarvesandspikes. So follow the directions there on either of those social media channels and be entered for your chance to win 2 copies of EA Sports FC 26. If you're a Patreon backer, if you go to patreon.com/scarvesandspikes and sign up for any tier, or the top 2 tiers, I believe, you can enter to get more entries, bonus entries, and improve your chances at winning 2 copies of FC 26. So again, instruct us on our X account, x.com/scarves, the letter N spikes, Blue Sky, scarvesandspikes.com, and on Instagram at scarves and spikes, A&D spikes. And it releases when?
Sydney, I was wrong. Ousmane Dembele does not have an 80-something.
Yeah,
he has a 90 rating. So he's one of the highest rated players, which makes sense for a Ballon d'Or winner. That makes sense. So So yeah, go in and get yourself a copy of FC26 and let us know if you pull Ousmane Dembele. The release date, by the way, is the 26th. So literally in a few days. So go ahead and enter for your chance to win a copy of that game. Maybe you pull Ousmane Dembele. Seattle played Ousmane Dembele and PSG in the Club World Cup. They had gone, they had only lost 2 matches since the Club World Cup. They won the Leagues Cup. They, kicked everyone's butt, won Leagues Cup, crowned themselves winners of everything that they can ever possibly win.
Except American Family Insurance Cup.
Then they've fallen off.
I know.
Sydney. They've fallen off. They have lost. They haven't won since the final, and literally last night they lost 2-1 to Austin FC, an Austin FC side that is trying to get their place in the playoffs. And by the way, fun fact that I did not know is that Seattle had never lost at Q2 Stadium before last night. That was their first time
3 or 4
there.
tries, right?
So.
Because when did Austin come into the league?
Yeah, because Austin's been around since 2021, and they've played there every season. So, Sydney, what's going on with the Sounders?
Shout out to CJ Forney, sort of come in as a super sub. Had the assist on the Murto Zuni goal against Seattle. I think scored the goal against Minnesota in the Open Cup, but he's just been on the tear as a super sub off the bench for Austin FC. So it's been good to see from a neutral standpoint, the young man coming into his own and really helping this team get itself together in over these past few matches as they look to get to the MLS Cup finals. And his name's not CJ Forney. I apologize. Not CJ Forney. What's his name? CJ Fadri. CJ Fadri. That's what I meant to say. Fadri. Yeah, close, but no cigar. CJ Fadri. Shout out to CJ Fadri. But no, Seattle. I mean, that's the big question, right? Seattle hasn't won, as you said, since Leagues Cup. I feel like it's kind of the same effect to some extent as Nashville a few years back when they hit a bad stretch of form after Leagues Cup. This is a team coming up. They have Cascadia Derby matches against Vancouver and Portland at home. RSL at home before, again, going across the country to play NYCFC. And I feel like a lot of this, part of this is still an injury, right? Because Jordan Morris is still out. Denis Bouanga has been filling in.
Jordan Morris is back.
Originally, he had been out.
He played in the Austin game. He came in as a sub.
He's been out for a while. He had been out for a while, but he's back and looking to get himself back integrated with the team and back to full fitness before playoffs comes around. But if you look at other players that are injured for Seattle at this point, I know Stefan Fry was out, of course. He was ill. Ariel, of course. De La Vega's kind of battling injury himself, and he was on a good run of form, a few months ago, but kind of I feel like has tailed off just a little bit. But I feel like the injury bug has kind of bit them a little bit, and that's part of it. That's not the whole thing, but they just haven't been able to find a winning formula over these past few weeks. You can kind of throw out the Miami match because that's Miami. They have Messi and some of the best players in the world. But Austin, I mean, you go down in the late goal. You lose by a late goal, and that's your chance at least a point on the road. But they need to get De La Vega back healthy, and they need to get De La Vega contributing on a high level. Because, as I said, he was on a really good run of form earlier in the year, but eventually kind of came back to earth and became his old self, I feel like, unfortunately. And I feel like the return on investment on De La Vega has not been as advertised for the Sounders at this point. Then Musovski has been having the season of his life, but I mean, he's only going to take this team so far, I believe. So you look back at his kind of stretch. I feel like he was injured. I think he was injured as well earlier, and don't want to say he's come back to earth a little bit, but yeah, he had a hat trick a few weeks ago against Sporting Kansas City. But yeah, he's sort of been powering this attack, but I think they need to lock things down at the end of matches. I mean, if you're on the road, you got to close out, especially in a team like Austin who's below you in the standings. So that's really hurt them. And again, this is kind of the open, or not the Open Cup, but the League's Cup hangover that has hit them. They need to get things under control. I feel like they'll look at the playoffs, right? But they need to lock things down before they completely play themselves out of the top 4 spot. And I wish we had, I wish we had sort of like Ari from Sounder at Heart, or Jeremiah from Sounder at Heart, to kind of walk us through that. But I feel like it's sort of what's going on with Seattle at this point.
Yeah, and again, that game, watching it live, it felt like Seattle was going to obliterate Austin, because they were attacking for a lot of this game. They dominated more of that attacking momentum. They put 17 shots to Austin's 10, Seattle. But man, Brad Stuver is huge in goal, man. Like he saved this Austin team from so many times in that game with several incredible saves. And so credit for that win. A lot of credit for that win has to go to Brad Stuver, obviously, for just keeping the Seattle attack out. And from the Seattle perspective, you feel kind of unlucky, because I mean they were doing a lot of things right, and then you're kept out, and at the end it's Austin that just finds a goal very, very late, and I mean there's nothing you can do at that point. But kind of looking back, Austin, their first goal, it was a really bad giveaway at the back. That Diego Rubio, an MLS veteran, had some really good years in Colorado. He's going to take advantage of that every single time if you give him those opportunities. So, I mean, sometimes it's those one little mistakes that make the difference between a win and a draw, or a draw and a loss. And I think that was the case in this scenario. And then you talk about the injuries. Of course, this isn't a full strength Sounders lineup. As we said, Jordan Morris was just coming back from injury. He came in off the bench. Jesus Ferreira, he did not start this game, even though he has kind of been an Austin killer at times. He's scored like 7 goals against Austin FC all time. So that's a stat that I looked at, and I was surprised that he didn't start. But that's coach's decision. Ultimately, you have to rotate folks. I get it. And yeah, you still deal with some other injuries across the squad, and then it gets worse because Obed Vargas, one of your most dependable midfielders this season, one that has played several games and has become important in Brian Schmetzer's system, he's gone off with Mexico for the U20 World Cup. He's going to be gone for about a month. So that's a huge blow to a Seattle side that is looking. I mean, I think at this point, I don't think they have a chance of cracking the top 4 in the West, but they still they haven't qualified for the playoffs yet. They haven't clinched their ticket. They're close, but they haven't quite got there yet. So, they need all the help that they can get. They need to kind of come together and find the right combination of players that they have available to them to close out the season in the best way possible.
I want to say the next win that they get will put them in the playoffs. I could be mistaken. We'll have to see what the elimination scenarios or the permutations are for that. But I already mentioned their schedule, Henry. Vancouver, Portland, 2 Cascadia Derby matches, RSL, and then at New York City. These aren't easy matches that they have coming up. And it's not to say that they won't make the playoffs. That's not to say that they'll get 0 points out of a possible 12 matches here down the stretch. But they have to buckle down. I mean, this is a team that always seems to be in the mix every year, either the top 4 in the playoffs. We call them the Zombie Sounders for a reason. But hats off to Austin FC. Brett Stuver, on his day, is one of the best keepers in the league, and he usually pops up with some really big games, and this one was no different with 5 saves on Seattle. I think on another day, these chances maybe go Seattle's way, and they have to take these opportunities the way they didn't against Austin. And Vargas is a big one of the top midfielders, young midfielders in the league. like you said with Mexico. But yeah, they are kind of treading water at this point. It's still a good team. I don't think this is an MLS Cup winning team or anything like that, or Western Conference winning team. But yeah, it's tough to see the Sounders end this way. And yeah, with the schedule remaining, this is not an easy one coming up for these final 4 matches. So this was one you feel like, Henry, they had to have if you're Austin, considering who they have coming up. So, we're talking about the playoffs. Let's kind of dig in here. Austin are in 6th place right now, and that's pretty incredible to think about. I feel like Austin were kind of at the bottom, but yeah, if you look at the Eastern Conference, I feel like if you look at that, it's really down to 3 teams fighting for that final spot, that 9th spot. Chicago with a great win. That's a terrific win for them the other day. But if you look at them, Columbus, I think they'll get in easily. Chicago now 45 points. Red Bulls on 43. So I feel like that's kind of your 3 right there. Columbus at Chicago, at Orlando, Red Bulls at home on decision day. Chicago, Columbus at home, at Miami, Toronto, at New England, and the Red Bulls, of course, as we mentioned, Hudson River Derby, Cincinnati, then at Columbus for decision day. Who kind of makes it off the East out of those 3 teams? Let me ask it a different way. I feel like the Fire and Red Bulls will be the 2 fighting it out. I'm not worried about Columbus. Do you?
Are
Not
you
really.
not worried about Columbus? Because look, I think Columbus will make the playoffs, but there's every chance they could be relegated to that 9th slot. Chicago is their next game, and a 5-point gap looks huge until you consider that that's a 6-pointer right there. So, and Chicago has a game in hand over Columbus. So that's something to look forward to. That's something to look at and kind of be careful of. I don't think Red Bulls are going to have enough to take over Columbus and knock them out. But yeah, Red Bulls are going to be obviously pulling for Columbus to beat Chicago. That's going to be their best chance, is overtaking Chicago. But yeah, I'll agree with you. I'll say that it's probably Chicago and Columbus going through of those 3 that we're talking about. Red Bulls is the one that's in a disadvantage, I think. So, and they have tough games, right? NYCFC, the Hudson River Derby. NYCFC is obviously trying to solidify their playoff position at the top, and it's a rivalry game. And if you have the chance to knock out your rival after they knocked you out of the playoffs last season and went to MLS Cup, you got to think blood's in the water, isn't it? So, yeah, I think that, and then the two Ohio teams, and obviously we just talked about Columbus. That's their decision day matchup. That is a team that is also kind of trying to not fall out of the playoffs, and I don't think that they will. In Cincinnati, they're again at the top. So for me, it's just really tough for Red Bulls to make it. But if they do, that's going to be a lot of good momentum.
What a letdown it would be for Red Bulls, right? They went to MLS Cup last year. They brought in Eric Maxime Choupo-Moting to boost their attack. They have, of course, Forsberg. But I was talking about it earlier. I was doing a recording with Andrew and Connor with the Designated Players podcast. Shout out to those guys, by the way. Give them a follow and a listen if you can. But Andrew was a big Red Bulls fan. He was talking about, the injuries. Lewis Morgan is injured. Cameron Harper's injured, and they haven't been quite able to overcome that. But still, you have Forsberg. You have Choupo-Moting. And this was a team, remember, they were 7th in the East last year, and they wanted a really good run at the playoffs to make MLS Cup. I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know if they make the playoffs this season, and it's going to be a massive, massive letdown for them. I know we're kind of asking about if they move on from Sandro Schwartz after 2 years, even though he took them to MLS Cup. I wouldn't surprise me. I don't know if it would surprise me.
It wouldn't surprise me, but He just took you to an MLS Cup.
But how many times? How many times have the Red Bulls been in this
I
position?
feel like there are other issues on the roster because, like, I mean, the attack it's working. The attack is producing for you. Choupo-Moting was, and he still kind of is in the Golden Boot race. Not near the top, but he's got 16 goals, 3 assists this season. That's a good output for a forward in MLS. You got to look at some of the defensive numbers then, because they've conceded 40 goals this season. Like that's kind of average, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. That something is weird. I don't know how you make MLS Cup one year, and then the next year, after reinforcing and making it theoretically better. Well, no, I do know because we follow Atlanta United, and they theoretically were all right in the playoffs last season, and then we don't talk about 2025.
Almost over.
But yeah, it's just a weird phenomenon for some of these teams, and especially Red Bulls. They'd gone like 15 consecutive years making
16,
the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's gonna be their first time in like 15, 16 years that they don't make the playoffs. So wow, that's interesting, man. I don't know. And maybe it's not even that the Red Bulls are bad. Maybe it talks about the quality of the rest of the Eastern Conference. I mean, we've just talked about all these teams. They're so close together that they've just had such consistent seasons to the point where maybe being just good or even above average isn't good enough at this point. Because if we're talking about above average, you would have to be in the top half of teams. I don't know, man. It's just tough to come to a determination on that. But honestly, I think it might have to do with just the quality, because I think this league is much better now than it was 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Like, what does Red Bulls do to adjust to that? Because I know we kind of talked about, I think last week, we're asking ourselves, when's the last time two teams that went to MLS Cup the previous year both missed the playoffs the next? Galaxy, long out of the playoff race, and Red Bulls may come up short themselves. So I don't know the last time that's happened. So I feel like the onus is really on the Red Bulls front office to say, hey, the rest of the Eastern Conferences up here, we're not quite at that level. Who can we supplement our roster with to add on as Lewis Morgan gets healthy, as Cameron Harper gets healthy? How can we supplement our lineup? How can we get better? How can we really position ourselves to win a trophy? Because that's been the thing that's been invading this club, is a trophy. You hear the "That's So Metro" kind of phenomenon, or the rallying cry, or the slogan kind of thrown about derisively about Red Bulls. They always seem to come up short. No MLS Cups. I mean, their last trophy was the Shield in 2018. They, of course, won the East in 2024, but outside of that, nothing to show for it. Brett saying in the chat, Red Bulls will be 5 or 6 in the Western Conference, and yeah, that kind of
Ooh, that's a bold claim, though. Okay, because let's look at this Western Conference now, right? San Diego, Vancouver, Minnesota. You're not getting above those. LAFC, Seattle are in those 4 and 5 slots, and right now, I can't see Red Bulls getting above them. But you know what? I could see them in that 6th spot. And then again, right? This is all like whatever case scenario. And by points, yeah, Red Bulls would be 7th in the West by points. So they would be in a better position. But then again, if you're in the Western Conference, we're not just talking about taking these point totals directly. We're talking about you facing an entirely different set of opponents, right? Because instead of facing 5 Western Conference opponents and a bunch of Eastern Conference opponents, you're facing a bunch of Western Conference opponents and maybe 5 in the East. And so that's kind of, it goes to the debate that we have every season, right? Of which conference is harder. And I think in this season, unequivocally to me, it's the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
I feel like the West is, a little bit more. No, the East is a little bit more top heavy, I feel like, because you have Philly, Cincinnati, Charlotte, NYC at this point. But then you have San Diego, Vancouver.
Talked about how 6 teams are within 3 points of each other.
But the middle of the Western Conference, certainly from 4 or 5 on down, that's still a little bit tight, but yeah, definitely it is very tight in the Eastern Conference. But I feel like Philadelphia and Cincinnati are kind of your top teams, and then it's just everybody else. So it that's the fun.
I don't know, man. I would say if anything, the Western Conference is like extremely top heavy. You talking okay, the top 3, right? Those are the
Yeah,
ones that are
yeah,
like far and ahead. You
yeah,
might throw LAFC in there a little bit, but they are 4 points behind Minnesota. And
yeah,
everyone else is just way but like Seattle, right? Seattle is 9 points below Minnesota. Austin is 10
right,
points below Minnesota. Like that difference
yeah,
is staggering. And then from there, the gap
yeah,
widens, I think. And then in the East, you just have like the first two, right? Philadelphia, Cincinnati are the ones that are further off. But then between
correct.
3 and 8, like we just talked about, that's
Yeah,
literally a win
yeah,
of a difference. So I don't know. It's two different
mm,
sides, right? And it's hard, but to me, I think maybe to Brett's point, if Red Bulls were in the Western Conference this season and had to play the likes of a struggling LA Galaxy or a
mm,
sporting Kansas City that's, fired their manager towards like the middle of the season, beginning of the season, a St. Louis that thought they'd figured how to
fire their
defend and then they
manager early
didn't.
in the season.
Uh, Fire their manager. Exactly. I think to that point, Red Bulls would probably be better. That is an interesting point to make. But again, that's the weird thing about. I don't want to say the weird thing about MLS because there's a lot of weird things about MLS, but that is certainly one of the
No, for
interesting
sure.
points about this league.
Want to just stay in the West where we're at it? Why not?
Sure. Yeehaw.
um, so we talked about the Eastern Conference and pretty much Columbus, Chicago, and the Red Bulls fighting out for that 9th spot. Red Bulls, of course, being 2 points back of Chicago. The Western Conference, though, I mean, that's still very much up for grabs. Between 8th and 12th, Henry, 5 points separate the teams. Colorado 8th, Dallas 9th, Houston 10th, San Jose 11th, and RSL in 12th after getting mollywopped by LAFC in back-to-back matches. Still
Twice in the
still
same
in the
week.
playoff race. Still in the playoff race. So it kind of speaks to the teams, kind of buff them. I mean, it's just going to be another fun. It's going to be a fun decision day because I feel like you can't really look at any of these teams that unequivocally say this team is going to be a playoff team. Like, I don't think you can look at the Rapids and say this will be a playoff team, or Dallas, Houston,
No.
San Jose, RSL.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's very precarious, man.
it's just
I think if anything, the outlier is probably Well, but RSL's
yeah,
only 3 points behind Dallas, and they have a game in. Well, no, they don't have a game in hand. They have
Colorado.
a game in hand over Colorado, which is like
Yeah,
pretty much the same thing.
Dallas could end up in
Man,
7th.
yeah, that is
Yeah,
an interesting
Colorado could
scenario.
end up in 7th too. Yeah,
Oof, that's a lot of what ifs for me, but definitely, I mean that's the thing, right? Because it's hard to do this math because you have to think about okay, who are these teams that are above?
yeah,
Who were they playing? How will those results impact what happens at the bottom of the table? I don't know, man. It is an interesting race, and I think to me it's going to be hard for RSL. But they do have that one game in hand over most
yeah.
of the folks in front of them. But for me, if I had to pick right now, I would say
Mm.
it's probably gonna be Dallas and San Jose.
Why?
I'm gonna say San Jose because I believe in San Jose because they are a team that I just think are just wholly
Yeah,
unpredictable and have an air of chaos. And mind you, they have 3 games remaining, and they're not easy games, right? At San Diego, at Vancouver, home to Austin. Those are tough games. But what you got to understand is that the Quakes don't make sense. So there will be games that you would think that they have to dominate and then they get blown out. There are games that you think that they are going to get mollywopped and then they have a decent game. They held San Diego. They were winning against San Diego in the first game that they played. They were winning. And then San Diego does what San Diego does and they turn it around toward the end. I think that San Jose could probably get the better of these teams on a good day, on a sunny San Jose day. But we'll see. Again, anything can happen, but I just want San Jose in the playoffs for the chaos factor.
I feel like Dallas could hold on to that ninth spot though, because look at their schedule at Portland. I feel like Portland will win that one, but then they play the Galaxy twice. First at Dignity Health Sports Park and then in Frisco. So if you're Dallas, you're looking like that has to be 6 points. No ifs, ands, and buts about it because of the way the Galaxy have been this season. And then they have Vancouver on decision day in Vancouver. So, I feel like if Dallas is to make it, those two in the middle against the Galaxy have to be wins, and then maybe get a point out of the other two at Portland, at Vancouver, because anything short of that, I don't think they still could, but I think it's going to be a little bit difficult for them to hold on to that ninth spot. That being said, if you look at Houston, they're at Nashville, who have been bad over the past few weeks, San Diego, and then at Sporting Kansas City. So if Houston can, get on a nice little run to end the season here, they can get themselves back in the mix. And they just beat Portland 1-0 over the weekend. So they're kind of flying high off of that. How can they take that momentum into these final three matches against Nashville, against San Jose or San Diego, against Sporting Kansas City, and make themselves a playoff team and kind of sneak into the playoffs? San Jose, I'm a little skeptical. Yeah, I know.
Leave.
Yeah.
Get on the train.
No, I'm a little skeptical about San Jose. RSL, same thing. But yeah,
none of them have it easy.
I feel like any team that has it easy, only marginally though, is Dallas, because they play the Galaxy twice. Other than that, you look at these other.
Wait, what?
Say that again.
Oh, I completely missed that. Who made up this schedule? Because I feel like there's been several times where like two teams have played each other in like a week span. I don't remember that happening very often before. Like, who does this?
But yeah,
the intern who made the schedule needs to be fired.
But I mean, it's just tough, Henry. It's just tough to tell. And again, I can't say with any conviction. Like, I say that Dallas could hold into a nice spot, but I'm just not convinced that it actually will happen, because it's just so tight. I mean, 5 points separating 5 teams. I mean, it's just a very tough race to call at this point. I'm not prepared to say any of these teams, could make the playoffs, but that's the fun of MLS, right? Seeing how these things shake out, and it's going to come down, I feel like, to decision day. Like, it's going to be, again, one of the wildest decision days we've seen in some time, and I'm here for it. You have possibly Supporter Shield being decided on decision day, possibly the final playoff slots in the West being decided on decision day, potentially the East, but I think the West will be a lot more entertaining to watch as it comes to what playoff teams will emerge from there. Yeah, indeed.
Fun times.
Our unsponsored matches to watch for this upcoming weekend. Of course, we have 2 matches coming up on Wednesday, midweek matches. Miami versus NYCFC at Citi Field, not Yankee Stadium. Yankee Stadium is not available, so that'll be at Citi Field. And then Cascadia Derby, Vancouver versus Portland. Vancouver, that's one of their matches in hand that they have to make up. It's at BC Place at 10:30 Eastern Time. But Henry, looking at Saturdays and Sundays matches, what is your match to watch out of that slate of matches?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of really good ones, honestly. But if I had to choose one from all the craziness that's happening this week, I have to go with Seattle, Vancouver. I just feel like, first of all, it's a Cascadia Derby, a rivalry game between two teams that are, one of them's already secured their playoff spot, but they're trying to get into the Supporters Shield. They're trying to go for something greater, right? Earlier this season, they had everything in hand. Now they don't really have much in hand except a spot in the playoffs. and they're trying to come back for it, right? And they can. It's just that they need to start putting wins together. So that's that. Thomas Mueller is on that team. He's going to be a factor to look out for. And then Seattle, right? What's their response after, a loss? That puts them in a tough spot as far as trying to get into the top 4. Will they be able to secure their playoff position? What kind of rhythm will they be taking into the playoffs? So for me, it's that's the game to watch. But again, there's so many good ones.
Hudson River Derby, up in Harrison at 7:30 on Saturday. Chicago Columbus, we already talked about that at Soldier Field. That's a 6-pointer. That could go a long way in deciding if Chicago can make it to the playoffs and break that stretch of playoff-less seasons. I feel like a win would mean more to Chicago than it would be to Columbus at this point, to be honest with you. Salt Lake, Austin, RSL Austin, that's pretty intriguing. San Diego, San Jose, that's quite intriguing as well. Can San Jose put a run together to get themselves back in playoff position? I'm going to say, though, Cincinnati and Orlando at TQL Stadium. That's the Sunday night soccer match. Jake Ziv and Taylor Twellman, friends of the show, will be calling that on Apple TV. And, of course, Andrew Wiebe. We can't forget Wiebe. We got to throw Wiebe in there. We got to get him back on the show, by the way. I feel like it's been a while since we've had Wiebe on. But, yeah. Cincinnati, Orlando. Cincinnati, of course, second in the East. 2 points back in Philadelphia for not only the Eastern Conference lead, but for the Supporters Shield lead. And this is a team that, with Brenner, with Kevin Denke, this is a team that has really emerged as a favorite in the Eastern Conference. Brenner, I know it's good to have him back. Kevin Denke, and then, of course, Ivan Nur, an MVP candidate. 30 goal contributions so far this season, and one of the best players in the league. Orlando, what can they do down the stretch to improve their playoff positioning and keep themselves in the hunt? Because this is an Orlando team that, again, is looking for that first MLS Cup to go along with that Open Cup that they won several years ago. What can they do? How can they put things together down the stretch? Ojeda, 16 goals, 14 assists, 30 goal contributions of his own, I should say. Pasalic, 11 goals. Luis Muriel, 9 goals, 8 assists. I mean, that's a lot of attacking firepower, Henry, between these two sides. And again, what can either team do to improve their positioning in the playoff race, improve their positioning in the standings? Cincinnati, depending on how Philadelphia does, could potentially take over the Shield lead. Orlando could get into the top 3 spot or top 4 spot if they beat Philadelphia or beat Cincinnati, I beg your pardon. So I think it's a very intriguing match. And yeah, Philadelphia plays DC United, so I know it's kind of a throwaway for Philly, but Cincinnati certainly has a great chance to stay on pace with Philadelphia with a victory. So Cincinnati versus Orlando is my match to watch for this upcoming match day. I think
solid. Plenty to choose from.
I think that's all she wrote for this episode of MLS Monday. Always a good conversation. Always good to look back at the big storylines from MLS and get you all caught up. Real quick, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time is our midweek stream on YouTube. So go to youtube.com, search Scarves and Spikes, like and subscribe. Be sure to hit the notification bell as well, because that lets you know when we're live. That lets you know when we post new videos like Henry's Across the Pitch features, our 3 takeaways after every Atlanta United match. Our MLS Monday stream, 9 p.m. Eastern time on Mondays. Our midweek stream, 7 p.m. Eastern time Wednesdays. Our match reaction shows, 9 p.m. Eastern time on Sundays after pretty much every Atlanta United match. Pre-match shows live, 3 takeaways across the pitch. Please please subscribe to us on YouTube. Search Scarves and Spikes. Hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell as well, and you'll know as soon as we post new content. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart. Leave us a review. Give us 5 stars. Let us know what you think of the show. Let us know what you think of our content. We really do appreciate it. If you're listening now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart, please consider joining us live at the times I just mentioned earlier and joining the conversation. We'd love to have you. And of course, scarvesandspikes.com is where to find all of our written content, as well as links to our social media sites, our social media pages, and our Patreon and our store. So definitely check that out as well. Henry, where are you on social media?
H.A. Higuita
I'm at SH
everywhere.
Writes on X, SH Writes on Blue Sky, SidH.soccer on Instagram and Threads, Scarves, the letter N, Spikes on X, scarvesandspikes.com on Blue Sky, Scarves and Spikes on Instagram and Threads, and on Facebook. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.
How about those Falcons?
Let's not talk about that.
This is not a Falcons podcast.
You ruined a perfectly good show, man. I was excited. You know, we didn't have to talk about Atlanta United, and you bring up the other football team. Man, it's a wild the Premier League race that we have right now. Liverpool is doing very well
after 3 matches. 5 matches,
5,
however many
exact.
it is. Arsenal and Spurs tied. Arsenal, Spurs, and Bournemouth tied for second place. Arsenal with the tiebreaker. Spurs, I don't remember the last time they've been in the top 4 in any part of the season.
Yeah, Spurs are
and then
doing their own thing. And City's a little bit lost.
City in crisis. 2-1-2. Or 2-2-1.
Yeah, they gotta put some pep in their step.
I was gonna say, are we gonna get the pep out chance here soon?
That I don't know, man.
I also feel bad for Wolves. Wolves haven't won a match all season long. They've conceded 12 goals in 5 matches.
Had a whimper this season, but yeah, it's unfortunate. Aston Villa,
yikes!
18th place.
Yikes!
Weren't they in like Champions League or Europa League?
They're just in Champions. They're just in
Champions League.
Yeah.
What a fall off, dude!
I know.
What changed?
I don't know. It's weird.
Honestly, what changed for them? I don't know, man. It's unfortunate, but yeah, it's a really fun Premier League. It's just kicked off, so
yeah,
I love it. I love it because I'm a Liverpool fan, but still.
Yeah.
Slottage time, baby.
Southampton on Tuesday in the Cup. The Palace this weekend.
Huh?
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see you guys later.